So hey guys, welcome to another video, and today I want to talk a little bit about Path of Exile. So what is Path of Exile? Well, Path of Exile is a loot porn ARPG like Diablo with an incredible amount of depth. It was made by Grinding Gear Games and it's currently free to play and it's available on Steam. Now when this game was in beta, I bought a Founders Pack so I could play, and I've played it a lot in beta. In beta, I always played a summoner character. I had this idea of a witch that just had an army of undead marching alongside her, but it didn't really work out because in beta, summoner characters were pretty terrible. There was no way to keep track of your zombies or your summons in general. Whenever you would change maps, they would disappear. There was no way of tracking how many zombies you had or tracking their health. And probably the biggest issue I had with the summoner character in beta was that once you got to a decently sized army, so you had like 10 plus summons with you, it was ridiculously hard to sustain them and you'd basically just be resummoning zombies and specters all the time. When the game launched, I decided against playing a summoner character and I played a Marauder, which is just a melee brawler. And I remember I installed the game, I started playing it around 6 PM, and I played through the entire night and pretty much finished the first difficulty. And I hated it, because I didn't want to play a Marauder, I wanted to play a Summoner, which, from my experience that I had in beta, were terrible. This kinda burned me to a point where I just didn't want to play the game anymore, so I left it, then I picked it up again, and I once again decided against playing the Summoner, and I played a Duelist instead. And surprise, surprise, I hated it because I was playing a Duelist, which is a melee character, and I wanted to play a Summoner. Now, fast forward like a year or so forward to today, and here's me playing Warframe. I've played like 50 hours after the War Within has been released, and I wanted to something to relax with. A game that I can just sit down with, I can play, and I decided to pick up Path of Exile, and this time around, I decided to play the Witch and finally play a Summoner. Now, turns out, Summoners are actually really good right now. The summons don't disappear when you change maps anymore. You can track how many zombies you have, you can track their health, you can add a little health bar on top of them. They've added a bunch of new summon spells, like as you can see over here, I can summon the Bloody Lost Souls from Doom, and they tweaked the passive skill tree to where it's much easier to sustain your minions because they added nodes like added minion health regeneration or lifesteal. And finally, for the first time after beta, I am having fun with this game again. Now, when I finally made my witch character and I jumped in, I was stunned by the amount of stuff they have added into this game. Here are some of the things that they have added since I played last time. They have added a fourth act, so they have essentially increased the length of individual playthroughs by 1/3. They've added Ascendancy, which is essentially specialization, so every class in the game can ascend into 3 different specialized classes. So for example, as a witch, I can either be an elementalist, which does a lot more elemental damage, surprise, surprise. I can ascend into the occultist, which specializes on curses and debuffs, or I can ascend into a necromancer, which specializes on summoning minions. They've added a player housing system, where you basically get your own little map, and it works off of a favor system, so as you do quests for random NPCs in the world, you will gain favor. You can then invite the NPCs into your little player house, they will give you crafting stations, and you can then buy certain building materials and decorations from them for favor. They've added a bunch of optional maps that you can run. They've added corrupted maps, which have a modifier and also get you a corrupted gem at the end. And probably the biggest thing that was in the game when I last played it, but I never tried it out, and that is the map system, which is essentially the endgame random dungeon system, where high-level enemies essentially drop maps for you to play that have certain modifiers, but also get you better items. But you only have a limited number of entries for each map, so if you either die too much and you have to go back too many times, or you simply leave too many times because you have loads of loot and you want to either sell it or put it into your stash, you will lose entries every time and eventually that map just disappears. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, they've added something called prophecies, where you can go to an NPC and seek your prophecy, which is essentially a modifier for one of the existing maps that disappears after you fulfill your prophecy. So as an example of one of these, I got a prophecy that basically duplicated every mini-boss and boss that spawned on a particular map, and once I killed all of them, I fulfilled my prophecy. I don't even know if these prophecies give you XP or something, because the ones I got were always, there is more stuff over there, go and kill it. So the reward for me was more fat loot. And that's what this game is about. It's about fat loot. Most ARPGs like this can be boiled down to, you're just gonna kill a lot of dudes, you're gonna get some fat loot from it, which improves your character so you can kill higher level dudes, get better loot, kill higher level dudes, and so on and so on and so on. That's what these games are all about. It's about character development, learning new skills, which in this game are handled in a fairly unique way. You see, there are no skills. Characters don't have any skills. You can get skill gems, which can be socketed into armor, and that gives you skills. Now, this is just an insane system that's extremely expansive because you have primary gems, which just give you a skill once you socket them into a piece of armor. Then there are supportive gems, which just support the original gem. So I can, for example, get a raise a zombie skill, which once I socket it into a piece of armor, will raise a zombie. But I can then link it to supportive gems, so I can add a gem that will make the zombies do more damage, that will make them faster. I can link it to a gem that will make me cast the spell faster, or I can link it to a totem gem which will make the spell not summon zombies, but it will instead summon a totem which will summon zombies. Now stack all of this on top of multiple different auras that you can get from gems. You have a million different unique items that have special effects. Stack that on top of the character ascendancy system where you can specialize your character. Then you have upgrades that you can do in your little house or the player house, where you can upgrade certain items via the crafting stations. Then you have the ginormous passive skill tree, which is absolutely terrifying for new players. And you have a game that gets really bloody complicated, really bloody fast, but it does have a lot of depth. And that's what I really like about Path of Exile. The depth. It's a deep game. It's not shallow like a lot of games that are made today. Yes, it is absolutely terrifying for a new player because you have so many different systems that you can play around with. And yes, it is terrifying. But if you stick with it, it will become clearer and clearer as you keep playing. And eventually you will kind of understand it. And once it clicks for you, you will realize how many choices you have and all you can do, and you will love it, trust me. Now, some people say that this game has an illusion of choice, that, for example, the passive skill tree is just an illusion of choice, you know, it's not real choice. Now, I would argue that picking a node that makes you use health instead of mana to cast spells, or picking up a node that gives all the bonuses you have on your shield to your minions instead, so your shield basically becomes your strongest weapon, is a choice. So I don't know what those people are smoking, but I mean, just go and check this game out on Steam. Scroll through the reviews, and you will see how overwhelmingly positive they are. Personally, I had to scroll through like 10 pages of positive reviews to find one negative one, and it was like a dude that had something like 2,000 hours played, and his review was, "At first it was fun, now I'm kinda getting bored." And I mean, that's not bad after 2,000 hours. And one final thing, the business model for this game is just awesome. It's the best free-to-play model that I have ever seen. You can basically just buy convenience, where you can expand your stash, where you can store your items, or you can buy some swag to look cooler than the other dudes. That's it. So yeah, Path of Exile, the game that I finally decided to play the way I wanted to play it originally, and I'm having loads of fun, and you might as well, so the link to Path of Exile is in the description. I thank you very much for watching as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!